Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new team therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Again, I feel so much, total respect and love for you and being yourself and being open and being vulnerable. It's like such
we don't have a photo of you with that smile like that. That is so beautiful. Okay, take it away, Jill.
So Michelle, I asked you that sort of invitation stuff, and you're saying, yep, I'm feeling kind of ready. Not that we're going to stop empathizing. We hope that we'll continue to empathize with you throughout, the morning, but you feel ready to kind of roll up your sleeves and start to work. And so what you shared with us really is this like anxiety in giving a presentation. And the moment in time that you picked in terms of your daily mood log was actually this moment in time, right? Like thinking about doing the live demonstration with Jill and David. And we have now kind of all these feelings and all these thoughts. So I'm going to ask you the kind of miracle cure question first, and then we can move through magic button and positive reframing. So I feel like I have a sense of this, but I do want to ask you, what if a miracle happened in the next hour, and you could get just what you wanted out of this work with us, what would that miracle look like? What would happen?
Well, I think it would be that I would not feel this terror, this dread, this anxiety at full volume when there is an opportunity like this. And, I got before the email that was asking for patients, somebody to volunteer as a patient. I got the email that was asking for people to help with the breakout groups. And even that, I was thinking, I should do that. And I felt the knot in my stomach. And I don't want to do that to the point that it stops me from volunteering for that stuff, because I want to progress. I want to get, to progress through the levels and throughout my life. And I don't want to keep avoiding these opportunities or not just avoiding them, but kind of pushing myself into them. Yeah. I'd like to be approaching those sorts of opportunities with perhaps, dare I say it, a bit of excitement.
Great. I love that. You're saying I'd like to no longer feel anxious and stressed and dread, right? When I think about giving presentations or being the center of attention, I'd like to even, dare I say, feel excited about these as opportunities and to approach them and to have much less anxiety. And I think that sounds like an awesome goal. And so David, I'll just move straight to the magic button. Does that sound good?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so
you want
Michelle,
me to do the magic button?
Sure, please.
Yeah. So, Michelle, let's say we had a magic button right now, and if you pressed it, all of this social anxiety would suddenly disappear, and you'd be able to volunteer for small group leader and talk and give extemporaneous talks, and you'd be all excited, and you'd just charge forward with your career in just the way that you hoped. Would you press that button?
Funny, I feel this ambivalent.
Sure. There's good reasons about tell us about the ambivalence.
Well, some of it is because I know the anxiety drives me to prepare for stuff. Mm-hmm. And some of the ambivalence maybe is just because of the outcome, that then I'd have to put myself up there. And that's still terrifying.
That's great, yeah. there might be a lot of good reasons not to press that magic button beyond just those two. Why don't we list them together in the left column? If you'll all write anxiety, so I'm using this chart, and then one thing it drives me to prepare, and also protects me from a lot of potentially distressing situations.
Yeah.
You say, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
From distressing situations, and
even like criticism.
Add that protects me from criticisms. So can we add then also on the right hand that the anxiety is a form of self-love?
Mm-hmm.
Add that too, because it's protecting me.
Mm-hmm.
What else does your anxiety show about you that's positive and awesome? See, there's two questions. What are some benefits of every negative feeling, and what does it show about me and my core values that's positive and awesome? What would be a lot of things that your anxiety shows about you that's positive and awesome?
Probably my high standards.
Well, put that down. High standards in the right-hand column. I love that. And then have your high standards motivated you to accomplish a lot, to work hard?
Yeah.
Is that important?
Yeah, absolutely.
Put that in the right-hand column. Pushed me to, or motivated me. My high standards motivated me to work hard and accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
That's cool. What are some more great things that your anxiety shows about you and your core values that's positive and awesome? Like for example, the essence of your anxiety is we're going to look down on you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what does that concern show about you that's really beautiful?
I really care about others' opinions.
Would you add that?
Mm-hmm.
I care.
Is that true, Michelle? Do you care a lot about others' opinions?
Yeah, hugely.
Yeah.
Add that. In addition, caring about people's opinions is a little on the intellectual side, but incredibly important. But does it also show that you care about other people?
Yes.
That you care about David and Jill?
Yeah.
Is that important?
Yeah, absolutely.
Add that. I care.
And I think, I mean, probably part of the anxiety about today, which comes out in some of those thoughts there, is suggesting that I'm concerned that this wouldn't be helpful to people,
For the audience.
And so what does that show?
To the audience, but also to you guys.
Yeah.
Right,
So what does that show?
Right.
I think that I respect you.
Yeah.
Yep. Is that important?
Yeah.
I respect.
I respect.
I respect you and want to give you a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. And I respect your skills and your professionalism and the fact that you make this look so damn easy, and it's so not. That's right.
I love that. This is tag team. You can help out here, Jill. I want to point out as a teaching point that the positive reframing we can do for every negative feeling and every negative thought. We're not going to go through all of that because we'd have a list of 75 positives. But just on anxiety, I've already got about eight things on my list for anxiety alone. And Jill might have more, but just let me ask you, as far as we've gone so far, you've said that the let me put my glasses back on, that the anxiety drives me to prepare, protects me from distressing situations, protects me from criticisms. In that sense, it's a form of self-love because I don't want myself to be hurt. It shows that I have high standards. My high standards have motivated me to work hard and to accomplish a lot. It shows I care about others' opinions. It shows I care about David and Jill and the people who are here today, and that I respect David and Jill, and that you want to give us something to help us too.
And, because I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want to waste everybody else's time.
Right, and so not wanting to waste, what's the positive side of that thing? I do want to contribute and to help. Yeah. Could you write that down? I want to contribute and help.
And I have another one, Michelle, after you write that down, so that's a positive, I want to contribute and help. You have this thought, people will think I'm selfish and self-occupied and worrying that others will think you're selfish. What does that show about you and what's really important to you and your values?
That I see everybody as equals, and I don't want to kind of be the drain on the airtime, because I don't want to be sort of placing myself above others. That I I think that's about respect.
Does that show? Yeah. So does that show humility?
Right. You're humble.
Does it show that?
Yeah.
We'll put that in the right hand. I see others as equal, and it shows humility. Now, is that true?
Yeah.
Is that important?
Yes, it's really important, and I think it's really important to. I was thinking about one of the things that was holding me back, and I ummed and ahed about whether to offer for this, was because of thinking, like as I said on there, or I'm not sure they did, that there'd be so many people out there with such more serious problems than this, and you know that I wanted people to have that opportunity to benefit from your skills and from your experience.
Yeah, is that important?
Yeah, really
is that
important.
Powerful?
Really.
Is that real?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it shows you as thoughtful and caring, right? Not self-centered, like other focused. Yeah. Humble. Let's see, I'm going to grab the daily mood log here. Now, just for a teaching point, what we're doing, folks, because sometimes people don't quite see what we're doing. We're just going through this daily mood log, and we have all these negative emotions. And then we have all these negative thoughts, and we can ask two questions of each one of Michelle. What does this show about you that's positive and awesome, you and your core values? And the second question is, what are some benefits of this? And you know, we've got like 10, 15 things already from just one of the emotions and one of the negative thoughts. Let's see, you feel inferior, inadequate, and incompetent. And I think that went up to 90. What are some wonderful things about feeling inferior, inadequate, and incompetent? What does that show about you, Michelle, that's beautiful? And what are some benefits?
I think it really speaks to a couple of the last points that we made there, which is that I don't want to put myself above others. Mm-hmm, that I value others.
Yeah, that's right.
Emotions and experiences
I value others. That's two.
Yeah.
I don't put self above others, and I value others' emotions and experiences. What else does that show about you? Because there's a lot of good things in inadequacy and incompetence and defectiveness.
That's that I'm honest.
I think it also shows these high standards, right? Here, Michelle gave us even just a dabble of her therapeutic skill when she talked about how she uses the "what's my grade" technique, and it was so kind of beautiful and perfect, and yet she's feeling inferior and inadequate. And so it really shows your high standards and your humility, right? Kind of those two things that go together.
And those are beautiful, but go ahead.
Well, I was thinking actually when you were talking about the asking what's my grade, and when I listened to, I think one of your podcasts where you were talking about all of the paradoxes that are in team. And I remember having such a shift when you were talking there about when someone offers you a B, about actually how exciting that is. And I felt that just this last week when I spoke to a client and asked the question, and they gave me a B, and I was like, fantastic. And it felt really exciting because I was opening myself up to saying, what more can you tell me? What am I missing? Rather than being afraid of that. And I think this inferior, inadequate, incompetent, I think it helps drive me to ask that question and to acknowledge that I'm not perfect and I'm going to make mistakes.
Yeah, so you just added two more things to the list. It drives me to work hard, I guess, because I realize I have shortcomings, and I admit that I'm not perfect. Helps me admit I'm not perfect. So there's an integrity about inferiority, right? Yeah. And so you're saying that's good to feel inadequate, inferior, and incompetent and stuff.
Yeah.
In the interest in time, we could be going on and on with this. We've given you folks a flavor for it, and we're trying to get to a kind of essence to see what the patient, or in this case, a colleague, an esteemed colleague, what the suffering shows about that person that's positive and awesome, because this is the opposite from the DSM, where we would be diagnosing your mental disorder. And we can look it up in this book. It's up in the shelf, right up there, so you can see my finger on the camera, and I could pull it, and there's hundreds of mental disorders. And what we're really saying is that this is showing beautiful things about you. And so if we press that magic button and all of these negative thoughts and feelings disappear, Michelle, then all these beautiful things about you are going to go down the drain, along with the negative feelings and thoughts. We could also add much more to this list. For example, your sadness, it's only 40%, and yet the sadness, again, shows your passion for what you've lost in your life and what you haven't had, because you so much want to be free. You want to be on that podium and see friends rather than enemies and critics. And your sadness shows your love and your intense desire to make that miracle happen for yourself.
Yeah.
Can I ask Michelle a pivot question?
I was hoping you would.
Okay, so Michelle, as David said, we could go on for more time, but in the interest of time, and because I think hopefully we have captured the essence of sort of so much of what's beautiful about your suffering, I would ask you, given all these advantages and all the positive values, why would you want to push this button? Like, why do you want to work on this? Why would you want to feel better about yourself and get rid of all this anxiety and distress?
Look, and I agree. I think that was really fabulous to do the reframe and the reminder about what all this says about me, and the fact that I'm frustrated means that this is still a goal that I want to achieve.
Right.
But I think I'd like the dial because
let's dial it down and then take our morning break. So, how down? That's 40%. What would be your goal? And we're going to fill this in on the goal column of the Daily Mood Log, folks. It's in this emotion table up at the top, and we're going to write down the goal. What would be your goal? How down would you want to feel at the end of the demonstration today?
Maybe 5.
5. Is that enough?
Yeah.
Okay. How anxious?
5 to 10. 5 to 10.
Yeah, 5 to 10. Well, yeah, let's give us a little wiggle room there. How anxious and panicky would you like to feel?
20 to 30.
Okay, put that down, 20 to 30 in the goal column. How inferior, inadequate, incompetent would you want to feel? That's 90. What would be a nice level of inadequacy and inferiority?
25.
25, great. How lonely would you like to feel? That's 80.
0.
Okay, great, super. How embarrassed, foolish, and self-conscious would you like to feel? That's 100.
Maybe just 5.
5, okay. How discouraged do you want to feel? That was, I think, 70.
0.
0, great, beautiful. How frustrated and stuck do you want to feel? That was 80.
I'll keep 10.
10, beautiful. Okay, there you go. How incompetent and...
or how annoyed and irritated, right?
Yeah, annoyed and irritated, right. At my age, these words all kind of blend
together. You started out at 60% annoyed and irritated. Michelle, how annoyed and irritated would you want to be?
I think I'm leaning towards 0.
Beautiful. Put a 0 there. And that ends the assessment of resistance. So to start the methods, an easy way is you gave us all of these painful but great negative thoughts. And what one might you want to take focus on first?
I think I should tackle number 5.
People think that you're selfish and self-preoccupied?
Yep.
Okay, great. That's a terrific one to start on. Now let's do something simple here. Just identify the distortions in that thought, and they're on the back of the Daily Mood Log, and we'll put them with abbreviations in the distortions column.
There's all or nothing thinking.
Lovely. I like that. And can you tell us why it's all or nothing thinking?
Well, I'm seeing that people will see me in that category, like I'm either successful and I know what I'm doing, or I'm selfish and just taking up people's time. So I'm just seeing that there's these 2 categories, and there isn't, it's 0 and 10 and not 1 through 9.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. What are some more distortions?
Some of these I get a little blended, but overgeneralization.
Great. Now, explain that.
I'm seeing that it's always been that way and always will be that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Generalizing also to a self. I have this bad self.
Yes.
As opposed to focusing on something specific. But that's good. What are some more distortions?
There's definitely fortune telling. Mind reading.
Yeah, mind reading and fortune telling. And why is it mind reading?
Because I have no idea what people are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm providing pretty limited options for their thinking.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Not many good options here, either selfish or self-occupied.
Yeah. Great. What are some more distortions in that thought?
It's tough. Emotional reasoning.
Oh, I love that. I forgot that one. Yeah, and tell us why it's emotional reasoning.
Because I feel anxious, so therefore there must be something wrong. It's like the whole body is on high alert.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I feel judged, so I must be being judged.
Yeah.
I feel I'm freaking out, so I must be in incredible danger.
Yeah. Yep.
I love that. What are some more distortions? I only found 3 more, at least so far.
Well, I'm labeling myself, really, aren't I?
Oh, I didn't even get that one. Yes, that's huge.
Yeah, tell us what you mean. I totally agree.
Because it's like the rhetorical question. What if people think I'm selfish and self-occupied? I'm answering that question myself, saying I'm selfish and self-occupied.
Yeah.
And I'm blaming myself.
Oh yeah, self-blame. That's another one then, right? Yeah, I love that. Like I have this bad essence. I'm labeling my essence. That's like what a schoolyard bully does, right? To humiliate another child.
Yep.
Any other distortions?
Probably, but I don't know how to describe them.
Well, I have a couple suggestions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Could this be a hidden should statement?
That I shouldn't be selfish or self-occupied?
Yeah, that I shouldn't be doing something for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that cool?
That I should defer to others, that I should let others focus
I don't have the right to be the center of attention.
Yeah, it's bad.
Does that bring tears to your eyes too?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, let them flow.
Yeah. Yeah, because it really goes back to that self-talk of just I should be able to do this myself, and I should be able to get over this, and I shouldn't be asking for more than I'm entitled to, and
Yeah, I love it. The only other one I found, maybe Jill found others, was discounting the positive. In other words, is there some evidence that you're overlooking? People will think you're selfish and self-preoccupied.
I think you're right, but I might need you to explain it to me.
Well, do you have any evidence as to how people are thinking about you today, for example? No evidence. Well, I'm glad you're not looking in the chat. Did you want to look there at this moment? Do you have access to it?
They're probably sending. No, she doesn't have access to it.
Oh, she doesn't have it. Well, should we hold? Should we wait then?
Yeah.
We'll wait. We'll check that out. Check that out later.
Well, but in essence, we could also say that it's mental filter. She's dwelling on the negatives and ignoring the positives. Like, for example, we've told her many times that she's giving us a gift, that she's giving others a gift. So there's a way of looking at the the negatives. Because I'm the center of attention, people will think that I'm selfish and self-occupied, but maybe there's a positive spin she's missing.
Yeah. Yes.
Does that make sense to you, Michelle?
Yeah, it does.
Yes, and do David and Jill seem to be accusing you of selfishness? That would be the discounting the positive.
Are you accused? No, I don't think you are.
So that's what I mean. You have to overlook
Yeah.
that in order to make this claim.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so now, how with all those distortions in mind, can you think of a way of talking back to this thought? What might you say to somebody who was just like you, who's been had a problem with bedwetting and has been anxious all of her life, and was going to a conference to try to get some help, and volunteered? Would you say to her, "Gosh, people are going to think you're selfish and self-occupied"?
Probably not.
No. Why not?
God, it sounds awful.
Right. What would you say?
That I'm being kind of brave.
Stop. Would you? How much do you believe that between 0 and 100? What you just said. I'm being kind of brave.
100.
Would you write that in the positive thought column? I'm being kind of brave. I love what you just said. Now, does that reduce your belief in the thought people will think you're selfish and self-occupied?
Not 100%, but maybe to 50.
Okay, put a line through the 100 and put a 50 in the same box. Put the 50 right under that.
I kind of suspected that because the positive thought actually doesn't totally address the negative thought. It's an awesome positive thought, but I don't think we've quite gotten there yet because it doesn't really crush you could be brave and people could think you were selfish and self-occupied, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a great teaching point, which is to say that people can come up with new kind of powerful positive thoughts, but if they don't put the lie to the original negative thought, they're not quite there yet.
Could I talk to you for a minute, Michelle?
Sure.
Do you know who I am?
Michelle?
Well,
that's a good guess, but I'm going to be a friend of Michelle's.
Okay.
I'm going to be a clone of Michelle. Yeah, but with a different name. I'm a dear friend of yours.
And let me say something before you start, David, because there will be many very confused audience members. So David is going to do a method with Michelle that's called the double standard technique, right? And in this method, David's going to play a dear friend of Michelle's, who's also a clone of hers. And David's going to use Michelle's negative thoughts in this kind of cognitive role-playing technique to see if Michelle can talk to David, the dear friend, in a way that will actually ultimately help Michelle to crush her negative thoughts. So now you can do it, David.
Thank you. That's great. Glad you paused. That's why I like working together, both in teaching and in therapy. Team isn't something you need a co-therapist for. It's just one therapist can do it, but it's just so much more beautiful experience. When I work with Jill, it's just, I don't know, it's just the best. But at any rate, so what you said to me, give me a name, like, how about Davina?
Davina is perfect.
Okay. I appreciate your telling me that I'm being kind of brave, and that seems true. But I want to ask you another question. I am being brave, but isn't it true that people are going to think I'm selfish and self-occupied?
I don't think people will think you're being selfish and self-occupied. I think your anxiety is very real, and I think it's a very worthy thing for you to ask for some help on. Now,
is that true? I love what you're saying. It's really helpful to me, but I want to make sure. Is that true, what you just told me?
Yeah.
Is that 100% true, or how true is it?
100% true.
Would you put that in the right-hand column? My anxiety is very real. Is that what you said? Was there some more to it? Or?
And it's good to ask for help. That's what she said.
Yeah.
And it's good to ask for help. And you say that's 100% true.
And I think I said it's a very worthy problem.
Mm.
Oh yes, add that.
Yes.
It's a worthy problem. And one of the nice things about doing it on Microsoft Word, which I'm not, is that the spaces will open up so you can put all of these positive thoughts. And that's 100% true?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Great. And now how much that's helping me a lot. And now, are you being honest with me, or are you just blowing smoke in my face?
No, I'm absolutely being honest with you. I think that's very true, and I think it's a gift to be able to have the opportunity to work on your anxiety. And I think in terms of whether the original thought is gone down to zero, I don't know if it will ever. I don't know. It seems like there might always be somebody who will think that you're selfish and self-occupied, but I think that would be the absolute minority of people, and that doesn't negate from the rest of this, that this is still an issue that you should get help with, and you're entitled to feel better about.
I love. So you just said few people will think that, and I'm entitled to feel better.
Mm.
Kind of like even if a handful of people do think that I'm selfish and self-centered, the majority of people won't. They'll in fact, benefit from this, and I'm entitled to feel better about myself.
Yeah.
Now, how much do you believe people will think you're selfish and self-occupied?
About 10%.
About 10. And actually, later on, if we have the time, we'll give you a chance to meet people who think that about you, and see where we go with that. Do you like that?
Thank you, Davina.
Now let's switch to another technique here. You want to try a more aggressive technique now? We're going to try externalization of voices, and Jill and I will now become the part of your mind, and we'll talk to you in the second person you. We'll sound like another person, but we're just Michelle now, the negative Michelle. And I'll start it out, and then Jill and I...
your role, Michelle, if David and I are playing the role of negative Michelle, meaning your exact negative thoughts from your daily mood log, then your role would be to play positive or rational Michelle, right? So we'll kind of hit you with your actual thoughts from your daily mood log, and we'll have you try and respond. And the goal is to really crush these negative thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. Can I talk to you for a minute, Michelle?
Yeah.
You beat us on that self-centered thought, but I want to remind you that other people's problems are way more important.
That may very well be the case, but I think it's still okay to ask for assistance and kind of hand the decision of that over to other people as to whether or not they would like to offer you assistance, me assistance.
Great. Who won that exchange?
I think I did.
Big or small?
Maybe small.
Small. Let's do a role reversal then. You be the negative Michelle, and Jill or I can be the positive Michelle. Why don't we you want to be the positive Michelle, Jill?
Sure.
Okay. Hit the positive Michelle. You're the negative Michelle now. Use that exact same thought.
So I'm the negative?
Yeah, you're going to be the negative, and you're going to use the second person you, and I'm going to be positive Michelle, and I'll use first person I.
So the thing is, Michelle, that other people's problems are way more important than yours.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of therapists in the audience who do have significant problems. I don't know how to weigh importance of problems. I don't usually do that when I'm talking to people about their problems. I kind of think all of us are really important, but I'm sure people out there have some significant problems. But the thing is that I just volunteered. I didn't step on other people's heads to get here. I just kind of threw my hat in the ring, and actually David and Jill selected me. So I'm pretty sure I'm not putting myself above others. I'm just putting myself in the ring with others. So who won that, Michelle, you or me?
You did.
And was that big or small?
That was big.
Was it big or huge?
Yeah, it was huge.
It was huge.
So let's see if you can do it, but hit me with the two. I'll show you another style for answering that.
The thing is, Michelle, that other people's problems are way more important than yours.
Actually, there probably are. Like there's probably some people here, there's probably a serial killer or something like that. But I think that this problem is incredibly important, not only to me, because it screwed up my life terribly. It's robbing me of a tremendous amount of joy. This is a huge and intensely severe problem. And in addition, I think this is going to be important to almost everyone in the audience, because I can ask them later. But I wouldn't be surprised if 80% of them or more have struggled and are struggling with this exact same issue. My problems are real and important, and it's a gift that I'm giving the audience and David and Jill to bring this to the table. But I do have one problem that's very severe.
Listening to me.
Listening to your BS. Who won?
You did.
Big or small?
Big.
Big or huge?
Huge.
Huge. Now let's try a role reversal. Jill will be the negative Michelle, and we want to do the role reversal because we want Michelle to get to huge. And the nice thing about this technique is that you can model back and forth until you see that the patient really gets it on the gut experiential level. So go for the
Yeah, so Michelle, other people's problems are way more important than yours.
And it's really interesting to have a look at that thought and to have a little discussion in my head about that, and to find some new words to respond to that, because there is I don't know that I can make a judgment about whose problems are more important than others. It's just a meaningless kind of concept. There are a lot of people hurting, and a lot of people would benefit from having this opportunity, and I have benefited from having this opportunity, and hopefully by sharing my anxiety here, others will have the opportunity to experience some growth from that, or to perhaps feel less alone in their own anxiety, or maybe even take the step to volunteer for the next opportunity. Yeah.
And who won that, Michelle, you or me?
I think I won that.
Was that big or small?
I think it was big, and I think it was huge. I mean, I'm kind of struggling a bit with the words, but I feel the sense. And I was having tears when you two were both doing the positive, Michelle, because it's a language I'm not familiar with. I'm really familiar with the push yourself with this harsh language. So it's almost like the words aren't coming supernaturally to me, but I get the concept, and I can see the irrationality of this.
That's great. Now, one thing you're saying right now that I'm glad it's touching you at the tearful level, but the words are different, and once again, there's a lot of reasons not to give up that harsh language. Maybe that isn't something that we should be trying to change.
No, I want to give it up. It's too hurtful.
Okay.
Can we try? I'd like to just offer you to try it one more time then, Michelle, and see if you can get to huge. And I think what you're saying is that you'd like to have more compassion for yourself, right? And that if I'm going to be negative Michelle and you're going to be positive Michelle, that you'd like to talk to yourself in that, right? Kind of like loving and accepting way that instead of that sort of self-critical way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So let's give you one more shot at that, and to really be channeling compassionate Michelle.
Yeah.
So Michelle, other people's problems are way more important than yours.
I just think I'm not going to listen to that anymore. It's not helpful to me, and it's hurtful to me, and I'm entitled. I don't like the word entitled, but there's nothing wrong with me asking for help. And my bigger problem is listening to you and being pushed along by painful stuff, and it's not helping me. So thank you, but I just don't need to hear that anymore.
I would love to high five you. And who won that, Michelle? You or me?
Me.
Was that big or huge?
Yeah, that felt huge.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Could I talk to you for a minute, Michelle?
Yes.
I know you had this fakey victory with Jill, with all that fake, nicey stuff. But I just wanted to remind you, in case you forgot, that you're just taking up valuable time, even at this very moment.
You're just like this kind of annoying buzz in my ear. And I know that you are trying to motivate me to do something, and it's just not helpful. And I'm not going to listen to your BS anymore.
I love that. Who won?
Yeah, I did.
Big or small?
I did. Yeah, I think that was big.
Big or huge?
I think it was huge. I mean, I'd like to be a little nicer as well.
No, I like the nasty Michelle coming out here. the warmth is good too, but the spunky, that technique, audience, is called counterattack technique, and it's kind of like standing up to that schoolyard bully.
Yeah.
And the bully is really within yourself. But the kindness approach is also extremely powerful. Now, Jill, should we do more of this? Should we go to a survey to test some of these thoughts? What we've got feared fantasy. There's a lot of productive directions to go in here.
Yeah, I don't know. I think. I think one potential positive would be feared fantasy, but I do want to make sure we leave time for survey technique too. Yeah,
let me hit you with one more negative thought. Is that okay?
Okay.
Just make sure we've got this under our belt. Can I talk to you for another minute here, Michelle?
30 seconds.
Okay, thanks. I just want to remind you, tell you that the people in the audience, they probably think you're stupid.
Well, there might be some people who think that I'm stupid, but I've spent so much time thinking I'm stupid that I'm kind of done with that. And I'm actually sure there's a considerable number of very lovely people in the audience who I'd like to get to know. at some point in the future when travel is allowed again. And I'd like to connect with them. And yeah, there might be some people who think I'm stupid, but that's okay. I can go about my life and business.
Okay, well, you beat me on that one, but I'm the negative Michelle, and I want to remind you that you should be able to do this for yourself.
I am.
Yeah, but David and Jill, they are quite critical and judgmental of you. They're hiding it, but don't you forget it.
They're hiding it very well.
But Michelle, remember that you don't know what you're doing.
I don't, a lot of the
Who won? That one.
I did.
Big or small?
Huge.
Huge, right. And that audience is called the acceptance paradox.
And I think Michelle actually is doing a lot of acceptance paradox in a really beautiful way. She's incorporating acceptance and self-defense. Like, for example, they will think I'm stupid. She's saying there might be a few people in the audience who think I'm stupid. That's like some acceptance. I'm not perfect and I can't please everybody. But at the same time, I loved it's not only self-compassion, it's other compassion, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There's probably some really lovely people in the audience that would be really nice to get to know. And that, and so there's this like, there's some self-acceptance, but there's also self-defense. Like, and there's that counterattack. Like, I don't need to believe this BS. I've been telling myself this my whole life, right? I'm done with this.
Now, once a teaching point, once a patient, or in this case, a colleague, starts hitting the ball out of the park, I just zipped through a whole bunch of these with externalization of voices, and you crush them quickly. Is there anything left on your daily mood log? Are any of the negative thoughts still bugging you?
No.
What was that? I didn't hear what you said.
You said no.
Oh,
so
no.
When you look at your daily mood log, there's nothing else on this list that you're feeling like we should work on or that's still bugging you.
Awesome. So do you want to go?
Think so.
Do you want to go?
No, I don't think so.
You want to do a survey or a feared fantasy? We do a survey.
Yeah. So Michelle, if we did the survey technique, just to kind of let you know what we're asking is, we'll ask people to send a note to Richard, actually, if they wanted us to unmute them, and you could ask them a question like, do you think I'm wasting your time? Or do you think I'm stupid? You'd have to have a specific question. What do you think of me having taken up this time today? And then they would answer you, and we could do a live survey where people would volunteer to be asked questions by you.
Do you want to do that, Michelle?
Yeah, I think I'd really like to know if people think that I'm taking up valuable time.
Okay, so
so send a note. So this is to all of you in the audience. If you would like to unmute yourself and be seen and heard and talk to Michelle and answer her survey question, send a note to Richard, and then Richard in the chat box, or Richard Lamb. Don't send a note to anyone else. That won't help you. So just send a note to Richard Lamb saying that I'd like to talk to Michelle or I'd like to survey. And then Richard, you can unmute someone and call them up with us.
Hey, I'm getting tons of responses. I'm excited
I'm
to
sure.
see so many. I'm just going to pick one at random here. Let me unmute Chris Stafford. Let's see, asked to unmute.
And then if you wanted to just write a note, you're welcome to also send like a note to be shared with Michelle to Maggie.
But from Nivedita, by the way, Michelle, you're awesome. You're doing us a great favor by doing this live session. There's probably a lot of chats. Is there a way, Mike, that she can get a copy of those at some point, or are they going to disappear? We can't hear you, Mike.
Yeah, Mike, we can't hear you.
So these are private messages, so we probably won't be able to save them. But I unmuted Chris Stafford. Chris, can you speak?
Yeah, can you hear me, Richard?
Yeah, perfect. And then I'll pass it back to you, Jill.
Thanks, Richard. Yeah, so Michelle, we're going to pass it over to you. Tell us what you'd like to ask Chris.
Yeah, hi, Chris. I would just really like to know if you think that I've been taking up valuable time this morning.
An incredible amount of time has been lost, Michelle. I watched your demeanour when you began and the talents of the team and was astonished. Long-time listener, also of the podcast, also a fellow Australian, early morning. I was incredibly touched by what you did. I thought it was incredibly brave. I loved your honesty. And I myself actually come from a social anxiety background and have impacted hearts racing out of my chest at the moment as I speak. So I thought it was incredibly valuable. Thank you for sharing. Incredibly inspirational. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate that. Lovely to hear from another Aussie. Mm-hmm. And you've really warmed my heart. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks so much, Chris. And I think, Richard, let's call on someone else too. That way Michelle can hear from a couple people. Thanks so much, Chris.
Maybe Richard could even read a bunch of the notes to Michelle. There's probably...
Yeah, let's do one more survey. And
okay,
then,
sure.
And then we can all read if we've all been getting chats. Richard, Maggie, if you have things to share, that would be awesome. But let's do one more live person.
Sure.
Let's get Caroline Steinman. I'm going to unmute you, Caroline, or ask you to unmute.
Thank you, Richard. Michelle, I wanted to volunteer to do this, but I was chicken because I have the same issue that you do, and almost identical in terms of things that I went through in my life that you just, when I was 10, I had an incident when I was doing a public speech. And since then, I have had terrible public anxiety. So I so related to you today. Why didn't it give you a chance to ask me a question? I just started.
Thank you, Carol. I mean, the question was going to be the same, whether you thought that this had been, taking up valuable time. And I feel so warm to hear what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I appreciate everything you said and did because you were representing me.
Well, thank you, Caroline. And, when David made a comment earlier about, wouldn't it be nice to be able to be on the podium, so to speak, and to look out and see friends as opposed to looking out and seeing critics? And so that's what comes to mind for me now as you're talking to me. It just feels really nice to have connected with somebody and to feel like here's a friend in the audience. Thank you.
Definitely. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Carolyn. And
Dipti wrote, I love you so much, Michelle, Dipti Joshi, and you've made me fall in love with team again.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Isn't that?
I've gotten a couple of chats that said, this is so incredible. I'm loving the live session. It's so rich with compassion and authenticity. And I asked people not to private chat me, so I only got 2. But Richard, I would call on either Richard or Maggie. And David, do you have anything else you want to share from your chat?
Well, I haven't looked at the chat, but okay. I'm sure it's just flooded with love messages for you.
Right. So let's
Michelle,
Maggie and Richard would have them, though, if you wanted them to share for a minute. Yeah. Certainly.
Mm-hmm. And then I have to quick comment at some point.
Yeah, I've gotten so many beautiful comments to Michelle, and they're going so fast, it's almost hard for me to keep up, but I'll just read a few. So Kai said, Michelle, I've struggled with a lot of social anxiety in my lifetime and a pushing feeling to get over it and move forward. I had tears in my eyes when you said that you weren't going to listen to your negative voice anymore. I'm so proud of you for taking this opportunity to be kind to yourself. You had such a powerful, self-compassionate voice. That was your biggest gift to me. I'm more than happy that you were selfless in this situation. It means so much to me.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I'm in tears, and it's just so lovely to hear because the way that I've motivated myself has not been so gentle, and to have such gentle responses is just showing me a different way a different path. It's really lovely. It's really touching.
Beautiful.
And I'm sure there are dozens of those. And if someone could even photograph them using that, where you can take a photograph of a
screenshot
website, so we could get them eventually over to you, Michelle. My quick comment, Michelle, was that you came here today with a flaw that you've been hiding, right? And trying to make go away.
Yep.
And fighting against. But I have this concept. Beck and I used to have it. We used to call it emotional alchemy, that turning your mud into gold. And the question is, was this very real flaw that you have? Was that a bad thing, or was that a great gift to all of us and to yourself? In other words, by accepting that, what happened to your relationship with the people in this room, or I guess in all these rooms, in this audience? How are they feeling about you?
It's like the distance has just shrunk, and I feel close to people.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm this kind of one person up here looking down on a sea of critics.
Yeah, and your worst flaw has become your greatest asset, because you just connected in a very intimate way with several hundred people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not by trying to change this flaw, but by accepting it.
Mm.
And we could talk more about that later, but just to bring this to a formal close, let's see how you're feeling at this moment.
Are we going to look at the daily mood log, David?
Yeah, and we'll look at the after column, and and we'll just write the final mood levels. And so right now, how down are you feeling?
5.
5. How anxious and panicky are you feeling?
0.
0. How inferior and inadequate and incompetent are you feeling?
5.
5. How lonely are you feeling?
0.
0. How embarrassed and foolish are you feeling?
0.
0. How discouraged are you feeling?
0.
0. How frustrated are you feeling?
0.
How angry are you feeling?
0.
0. And 2 questions then. You met or achieved all of your goals. You blew all of this away in one session. And later on we can talk about, your homework, your relapse prevention training, and so forth. But question number 1, was this real, or are you just trying to make David and Jill feel good? And secondly, if it's real, what caused the change? Or what were the pieces, the aspects that were the most helpful to you?
It's absolutely real, and I feel this real softening inside of me, and like a leaning into the anxiety as opposed to trying to block it out.
Yeah.
And there was something about the connection, the empathy that you guys offered, and I think especially that image of, as I said before, to think that I could be thinking about this as being a sea of friends as opposed to a sea of critics, because it's kind of how I approach my life is, who's the next friend, and how can I get to know somebody? And so it's absolutely been real. But I think also just when I think you did a little shift where you said, maybe we shouldn't work on this.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of addressing that ambivalence because of this feeling like it's been such a comfortable old friend.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's an old friend, but it's not comfortable, and I don't need it.
Yeah. And by the way, from a teaching point, you would come up with a positive thought that was pretty darn good, but you were a little, say, I can see it intellectually, but not emotionally. And so the technique I used is called externalization of resistance, where I stopped trying to help and said, like, well, maybe we don't want to work on it then, since maybe you've got some mixed feelings. And then suddenly that powerful Michelle emerged again. It happened so fast, people might not have noticed it.
Like in a song, it was like the reprise. It was like a revisiting of the positive reframing, right? A little bit of like, maybe we shouldn't work on this, that kind of thing, which was just enough for you to say, no, I want to work on it, and then be, kind of stronger in your response.
Yeah, and it boosted my desire to fight back to it. And it was even not even fighting back, but kind of a sinking in, like, come along for the ride with me. I don't want to do this battle anymore.
And finally, a huge thank you to you, Michelle. You blew my socks off, and you were a superstar. Right? Here's my virtual hug.
Thank you so much to both of you. I am so incredibly grateful. I feel the volume's down on this and the volume's up on this. So thank you. I'm really, really grateful.
Yeah. Welcome back, folks. And we have a special treat for all of you. Michelle is joining us live from Australia. And Jill is kindly consented to join us too, so we can get a little bit of follow-up. That was a tremendous session, Michelle. I can't thank you enough. You brought your heart. You hit a home run, and I think everyone's just dying to hear from you again, and Jill, and see what your thoughts are and your wisdom about that. I was just so glad that you, Jill, and the Feeling Good Institute gave us the chance to publish both of the live demos as podcasts, so many people can share them, because a lot of people wanted to go to that workshop but couldn't because it was restricted to mental health professionals. And it's just great that we've got the two of you. And then once we've kind of wrapped up, I know you, Jill, are about to launch a really exciting training program for mental health professionals, and we can allude to that and link to that also in the show notes, because I'm just so proud and excited at what you've been working on for the past 6 months or something like that. So if you heard this wonderful podcast, you'd like to develop these skills, they're a lot harder than what Jill and I make it look, although it was challenging at times with you, Michelle, but it's nice to have a step-by-step approach to learn how to use each of the components. So tell us how you're doing now, and David, will kind of shut up, and Jill and Rhonda can jump in, and let's see what's happening. Thank you for joining us, Michelle.
David, Jill, and Rhonda, thank you so much for having me back or having me on the podcast. I feel truly excited, a little nervous, but you taught me to express that. But overall, just excited to be here, and really excited to share with you a bit about how I've been feeling after the podcast and what that was like for me. And I'm sort of not surprised it was a little difficult for you, because in that live session, because I don't think I made it easy. And I know that there was a lot of internal turmoil going on that I didn't really understand myself until yours and Jill's very well-placed questions. Would it be helpful to talk a bit about that?
Sure, we'd love it.
I think what I felt this real internal confusion about, and I think, Jill, you pointed it out, about did I want or need the feedback from the audience, from other people, and some sort of stroking and some care and concern. And I felt real internal ambivalence about that, and about how much I wanted to hear from other people and how much I just wanted to sort of push other people aside and do that myself. And so, Jill, you identified that really, really soon, really early. And David, you then made some comment about, I think you offered me some empathy, and you made this really important statement that has stuck with me ever since about, but maybe you're still pushing, maybe you're pushing even that away. And it felt like an opportunity for me to accept and lean in to the experience, or to stay back here and to not provide enough to even do the work. And so that was really, I think, an important moment for me in empathy of being able to move forward to do the work.
It was like there was a part of you that you were holding back, right? A part of you that you weren't sharing. And so I think that came out when we were asking for our grade, right? And our grade was like a B or something. And you kind of shared with us that that there were things you hadn't fully shared with us, and you sort of seemed like on the fence about how much you wanted to share. But it sounds like you, at that point, you decided to dive in and to put it all out there.
Yeah, and I was able to do that because I think you both made it safe to do that, and really pointing out as well some ideas about what I might have been having, the ideas I might have been having about everybody else in the audience. And already I think some cognitive changes were starting to occur through the empathy process.
I want to just make one comment that, when we're working in front of a live audience, it's like a high wire act without a net. And it takes courage from you mostly, but it also takes some courage from Jill and David, because we don't know how things are going to come out. Nothing's rehearsed or planned or guaranteed at all. And so we want to, get an A from the audience, and we want to blow people's minds. And so when we got that B, it was kind of devastating. And one of the teaching points of team is that failure is success in disguise. And it was so interesting. You're looking maybe a little emotional now. Are you feeling a little emotional now?
A little. And that teaching point from the session has also stuck with me in my professional work. And it's been so, the whole team model, but that in particular of being open to a B, you role model that so beautifully in that session. And it stuck with me in a professional experience quite recently where I got probably even got an E. And I thought about how can I do the 5 secrets? How can I respond to this? And yeah, it's incredibly powerful and incredibly important. And I'm truly grateful for this model that you've created and the teaching of how to apply it.
Yeah, because if we hadn't asked you for your grade, see, Jill is the greatest on empathy. She got the award just last week from the American Psychiatric Association, the greatest empathist of the year award.
Probably of the century.
Right. And I was doing it my best because I have to try to keep up with Jill, which is virtually impossible. But I gave myself a really kudos too on the empathy. And then when we both got the B, my jaw that was jaw dropping. I couldn't believe it. But the idea is it's highly desirable to fail. Because you're telling us something's missing in this interaction. And I would not have known it if we hadn't asked for that grade. And it sounds dopey to ask for a grade, but it's not. And then that led to this other revelation of the bedwetting thing and how horrible that was for you, and having to wash the clothes every morning and hang them on the line and feeling ashamed and under all of this pressure. you got to fix this, and we're going to bring you to a hypnotist, we're going to bring you to another doctor, and this has got to be fixed. And it's just a message over and over of shame, and what a powerful thing that was. And that was your way of giving this gift to us. But I'm just saying this because it's a basic teaching point. People don't often listen, but you can't do any kind of therapy, in my opinion, without these testing tools. Because if we hadn't used that testing technique, what's our grade so far? The session would have been one of these forced intellectual things that you would have said was pretty good, and everyone would have known it wasn't a miracle.
I think that's a really great and important teaching point, because so many therapists, when they're first learning team, are very reluctant to ask for grades and feel kind of embarrassed or silly doing it. But this was a really beautiful example of when you asked for the grade and you got a B and then worked through that. It allowed, Michelle, you to stop withholding and really go deeper into the work that resulted in this beautiful kind of enlightened state.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was, as I said in the session, I was even toying prior to the training about whether or not this was relevant or important. And actually probably what was just behind that was the shame. And, do I really feel like sharing this part of myself that I feel so incredibly embarrassed about? But it felt like the B was actually more reflective, not of your skills at empathizing, but of where I was at and how much I had offered, how much I'd shared.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a two-way process, but it provided me the opportunity to say it is a B, but also if I want to go further, I need to offer more.
Yeah, there was a B. It was like opening the door. Hey, there's more inside here, folks.
Right.
And what a gift that was. Tell us more what that experience was like for you, because to me it was just kind of earth-shaking. I didn't even take any notes when we got to methods because it becomes so, spellbinding for me. And I think you might have sent me some notes. Somebody send me some notes that I'll edit into the show notes on the methods. But it was more than just a therapy session. It was something very special happening to my way of thinking.
And I mean, I even now feel a bit emotional talking about it. But that was really quite enlightening to become aware of this moment in time. I think when the internal bully started, the internal critic, and how useful it had been in those moments to motivate me to do what needed to be done and to get on with my day. But it clearly hasn't been it's been a painful strategy. And that's what I think really became apparent to me in that session, that all of those thoughts on the daily mood log, that was all the internal bully. And yep, there's really positive stuff in there. That's what pushes me to do things that I don't necessarily feel like doing, in that moment. But so it serves me well, but it's painful.
You cast a spell on the audience and on all of us that day. You unleashed tremendous power. I assume you're aware of that.
No, I don't. I don't think I am. I think it just felt. It's still something that. I mean, I feel incredible relief from talking about that moment, and about the impact of that on my thinking strategy, and but I think it's still more, my focus is more on how that has impacted me. I hadn't even really thought so much about what impact that might have had on others.
Well, I want to get back to you, and I'll just make my dopey point one more time. But that Churchill, he was supposed to be a great leader, right? Mm-hmm. He cast a spell on people, and Abraham Lincoln did with his Gettysburg Address. He cast a spell on people, right? I mean, these great orators are ones that they can transform an audience. Isn't that what a great public speaker is? Mm-hmm. Someone who can blow the minds of people in a really big way.
Yep.
And that's what you did that day, right?
Well, I feel incredibly honored that you've put me in a similar category in that response. So I thank you for that. I really do. That's really lovely. And you said that at the end of the session about our greatest weakness being like alchemy and being really powerful. And I'm so incredibly grateful that was, or pleased that's how that day was. I'm rapt about that.
Yeah, it was. It's coming back to me now. Like I was in a trance. I mean, I couldn't even remember it afterwards. I just know that my mind had been blown. Go ahead, Jill.
No, I was going to say, I think also in a way you're, leading by example because, so many people in the audience, and I'm sure so many people listening to this podcast struggle with some degree of social anxiety, performance anxiety, public speaking anxiety, and this idea of speaking about it to a large group of people and now even more publicly. It's really leaning in, right? It's really using self-disclosure and exposure and, it's the opposite of hiding, right? And so I think that was one of the lessons learned through the work as well, right? As we talked about self-disclosure and you started today with some self-disclosure. How are you? You said, I'm feeling kind of nervous. And
there were 300 that day. Right now, there's 15,000. I mean, it'll take a couple months to get up to that number, but there will be that many people and more listening to last week's and this week's. Have you had any feedback from anybody?
Not many, actually. There was another Australian who was listening to the live broadcast, a replay of the live, and so she's over in Melbourne, and so she reached out to me and just said how grateful she was for me doing that work and how excited she was to find another team CBT therapist in Australia. So that was fantastic. But that might be it. I've had some good conversations with Robin Mortimer, Blake Mortimer, who I do some team supervision with, and she was really, really impressed and grateful. And also actually a couple of people in the Georgia group that I do some team consultation and skill work with. Yeah.
Well, you may get more now because its exposure was massively amplified. How have you been feeling since that time? And did we want to do relapse prevention training, Jill, for 5 minutes?
Sure.
But how have you been feeling since that time?
How have you been feeling, Michelle? In other words, I think the question people would have is, did you maintain your gains? Was this real? What we saw or what people are listening to in the podcast, was that real change? And we haven't had contact with you since then. So have you been maintaining those gains? How have things been going?
It's absolutely real, and the gains are sneaky. It's sneaky in that it has been appearing to me in circumstances where I didn't really realize I was a bit anxious. And so I've been in several social opportunities since then where I was talking with complete strangers. And it wasn't a problem. I was excited about, and I had this huge shift in my thinking from the concerns about the judgments that people might be making about me to thinking about who is this person and how can I find out more about them. And so that has been quite mind-blowing for me. Straight away after the session, I think it was a week later, 5 days later, it was my birthday. And I had a small gathering at my house, and I pulled out a small step and I stood on top of that and I kind of waved my arms and I got everybody's attention and I said, I have an announcement.
Oh my gosh, that was one of your greatest fears, was talking at a friend's birthday party or your birthday party. So it sounds like you're saying you leaned in and made that happen.
I absolutely leaned in. I jumped on board and I felt excitement and a bit nervous, but I felt excited about that. And so I was thinking about you, Jill, and David, and I spoke to the people at my party and I explained to them the personal work that I'd just done. I told them that this was about social anxiety. I've told them that there would probably be a podcast. Now I'll have to follow up and let them listen to it. So yeah, I did. I absolutely leaned into the exposure. So yes, all that to say, it's been big in the setting that I was hoping for, and sneaky little gains that I wasn't expecting. And yeah, I'm really quite moved by that.
That's great. One thing about relapse prevention for anxiety is you have to keep after it, because it will come creeping back. And so, I used to have crippling public speaking anxiety, and now I'm probably speaking more than I should be. But it's a good way to keep it at bay, to continued exposure. And another thing is to make sure you can blow your negative thoughts out of the water still. And what's your name, Michelle?
Michelle.
And what's my name?
Michelle.
And Jill's name?
Michelle.
Okay, and Rhonda's name?
Another Michelle.
Okay, and can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'll start it out, and I'm just going to hit you again with your negative thoughts and see what you can do with them. Could I talk to you for a minute, Michelle?
Yes, sure.
This problem you have is just public speaking anxiety, insecurity. It's ridiculous. It's not even a real problem. Now, keep in mind, for those who are listening, I'm not trying to be mean to Michelle. I'm playing the role of Michelle's negative thoughts.
Well, Michelle, the thing is, this is a problem. This has been quite actually a large problem in your life. And actually, it's held you back. It's held you back from doing some things in your life that you've really wanted to do. And that's there's something a bit sad. I feel sad about that. I feel sad that that's happened. So it's not ridiculous. It's absolutely a problem, and it's a worthy problem, and it's not a shameful problem.
Who won?
Me.
Big or small?
Big.
Big or huge?
Huge.
Huge. I agree. So I'll retire and let the next Michelle tag team externalization of voices here. Well, now let the next negative Michelle attack you.
I'll go next. So, Michelle, this podcast and this personal work you've done, this is not going to be helpful to anyone.
Well, it's helpful to me. And I'll add more to that. It is absolutely has been helpful to me, and that's really significant because I've actually just taken an opportunity to put myself first. It's also true that it might not be helpful for some people, and that's okay. It won't be helpful to everybody, but I reckon there's a bunch of people, I reckon there's hundreds of people who experience social anxiety and some really similar anxieties and worries to me, and the added level of feeling shame about that anxiety. And I think they might find it really helpful.
Awesome. Who won that, you or me?
Me.
And was that big or small?
Yeah, that was big.
And was that big or huge?
And it was huge.
Fantastic.
Okay,
Now we got a really tough Michelle coming in to take over and send you. And this one is an actual karate expert in her other life as Rhonda, and then she brings that power in her externalization of voices as the negative Michelle. Take it away, Michelle.
Michelle, I'm really, I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you, but all of the time that you took up in the workshop that you did with Jill and David, and even the time that you're taking up now on this podcast, you're just taking up valuable time.
Michelle, actually, that thought makes me feel a little sad, but I think what makes me feel even sadder is knowing that I've listened to those thoughts for a really long time, and I'm not going to anymore. It's going to have been valuable to some people and immensely valuable to me, and that's enough.
Michelle, who won that?
I did.
Small or large win?
I think it was large.
Large or huge? You think it was huge?
I think it was huge.
I think so too.
Yep.
Is there anything here you want to do a role reversal on, or is there any of these? I'm looking at your 12 negative thoughts, and like they'll realize I don't know what I'm doing, or any of them that you want us to hit you with, or they'll think I'm stupid. I should be able to get over this on my own, or others' problems.
How about they wonder what my qualifications are, how I got my qualifications? That kind of thing.
Could I talk to you for a minute, Michelle?
Yes, sure.
There's a lot of people are going to be listening to this podcast, and they're listening right now, and they're just wondering what the hell your qualifications are. I mean, you're like a nervous wreck.
You're absolutely right. Well, no, not absolutely right. When I did the live therapy, I was absolutely a nervous wreck. But I've come back from that now, and if you want to know what my qualifications are, I could tell you. I have a master's degree in forensic psychology, and I have a endorsement as a clinical and forensic psychologist. Was that the question?
No, I'm just the Michelle, and I'm just wanting to let you know that there's people who are wondering what your qualifications are. Thousands of them right now. And they're murmuring among themselves.
and word is going to spread. Look, it's true. There may very well be people who wonder what my qualifications are. I can point them towards my website, or I still think even if they are wondering what my qualifications are, that's not so helpful to me right now, because I do have social anxiety, and that's not really determined by my qualifications. And I've had some really good help from for my social anxiety here today and in the live work. And I think I'll just stop listening to the bully who's making me doubt and question myself again.
Who won?
Me.
Big or small?
Huge.
Huge. And how did you win huge?
I think I used a combination of acceptance, a combination of hitting back, a combination of self-defense.
Right. Absolutely. All three of those. You want to do a role reversal on it? I mean, you got to huge, so it's not needed, but I'd just love to talk back to this one.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that, because I felt a little bit of myself slipping there, and I think you saw the slip, and so you jumped in and got tougher with me. So I'd like to see your role play.
Okay, do a role reversal. Yeah.
So the thing is, Michelle, that everybody, there are thousands of people listening to this now, and they are going to wonder what your qualifications are.
Well, they'll see my qualifications. I've got a huge qualification.
What's that?
Standing up to your bullshit. That's my qualification. And teaching them to do the same, to talk back to that mean voice we've all got in our brain, and my heart too.
Mm-hmm.
That's my qualification too. My forensic psychology, that makes me a technician. But my heart and what I'm doing today, that makes me a healer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So who won?
You did. Huge.
Huge. And how did I win huge?
It was really a big hit back, a really big talk down to the bully, putting the bully in place, and saying that the qualifications are irrelevant here. It's the human that makes this matter, not the qualifications.
Right. See, what you're bringing to the table, because of your social anxiety, is worth 1,000 times more to someone who comes to you for suffering for help. And they don't give a damn about your forensic training or psychology training. They want to know, can you heal them? Can you bring the same miracle to them that you're bringing to yourself? And there's now something incredibly important to bring this to closure. And Jill will now reveal what that is.
That's David's favorite trademark line. On the spot. Why should today be any other different?
Yeah.
No, I would just say, a huge thank you to Michelle. I thought, in a way, you brought it to a beautiful conclusion, David, with your comment about heart. And I think that's what we have to be grateful to you for, is for really bringing your heart and sharing with people your heart. And that's what matters to our listeners, right? To have an opportunity to really see inside, someone's mind and their heart, and to have you share so openly and generously with everyone. I think we all feel really grateful. I know David and I just loved the opportunity that we had to work with you and then to share it with others. It's an amazing gift.
Being with you is a peaceful experience, Michelle.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Jill and Rhonda. And I also just want to say how I think one of the biggest shifts for me in that session was really shifting from feeling like here are two people in front of me who are sort of technicians and here to demonstrate how the model works. And because that's what's going on in my head, for me to be able to see here are two beautiful people, incredibly generous with their time, with their skills, who are colleagues and now friends. And that was such a beautiful gift in that moment, but also a learning opportunity for what I can take into future settings. So thank you. I feel supremely grateful.
And you see how the peacefulness is even spreading here in my office? Can you see?
The listeners can't see your beautiful cat,
just so our recently adopted cat is curled up right next to me. And now when she just raised her beautiful head, she heard me and she's staring right at me. And she's my pal now. And she was so peaceful when we were talking to you, Michelle. So, Rhonda, anything?
Well, the Dalai Lama said having a smart brain isn't enough. We also need to have a warm heart. And it's really clear that all three of you have very warm hearts, and that you came together and that led to incredible healing. And Michelle, you were so courageous. And I think everyone listening to these two podcasts is really going to be grateful to you and to Jill and David for the work that you did.
Well, thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Michelle. Again, it was just a fantastic thing that you made happen. And I hope you never forget it for the rest of your life. And so many people that you'll touch. Eventually, there'll probably be as many as 40,000 who will hear these two sessions. And they're going to be they're going to be whatever they're going to be. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website, at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda Borofsky, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good Podcast.